By 2008, Lindsay Eklund had been missing for 7 years. The case had gone from cold to frozen in time. So Placentia PD decided to outsource the investigation to the cold case unit at the Orange County DA's office, to a guy named Larry Montgomery. With more than 30 years working homicide, Larry's put away his share of bad guys, not usually by knocking on doors. Instead, Larry works by looking very closely at the evidence. He doesn't work fast. In fact, Larry is meticulously slow. And that was just what this cold case needed.
Was there anything in the original investigation that struck you as something that you needed to re-examine?
Everything.
Everything that had led Placentia police into that wall, trying to decide between two suspects.
No, I mean, I'm concerned about this girl, okay, and she's missing.
Marty, Lindsay's older friend who kept their relationship a secret and lied about his name. And Chris.
In my heart, it seems like she might be still alive.
The last person known to have seen Lindsay when he dropped her off at that corner.
At that point, any idea on your part which of those two was a more likely suspect?
No, I don't know until I get into it and see the details.
You're no doubt aware that you've got a reputation for believing that, I don't know if God's in the details, but guilt's in the details.
And innocence.
Guilty or innocent? Was it Marty or Chris? Larry even considered another possibility. Could it have been random? Someone who'd seen Lindsay at just the wrong time.
So you've got a bad guy just waiting, hoping that a girl drops out of a car at 4:25 in the morning.
It happens.
Yep. And you consider that, but then you weigh it. And you go, is that a good possibility? Probably not, but still keep an open mind.
And so Larry sat down and read through the entire case file, all the witness statements, all the interviews. He did that for 2 years.
Well, here we go down this road again.
All right.
He watched the February 2001 interview that police did with a very unhappy Marty.
Doesn't it strike you as tremendously suspicious that Marty would call after Lindsay disappears, talk to Lindsay's mother, and give a phony name?
If you didn't know the background of Marty, then absolutely.
When I talked to the mother on the phone, I just gave an identifier, okay? I mean, Marty Wrestler, that's what I said, okay?
Right.
All right?
Which is a lie.
Which is a lie. Okay.
Watching that interview, Larry chalked up Marty's dishonesty as an attempt to save his marriage.
I don't want my wife to be brought into this thing.
Larry also took a closer look at the idea that Marty and Lindsay were together at that clothing store after she went missing.
I flat wasn't there on that day, okay?
No one ever found any security video of that, and Larry's learned over the years that well-meaning people often get dates wrong. And Larry learned a key fact. Marty had actually participated in those early searches for Lindsay.
You eliminated Marty fairly quickly then.
Yes.
Marty's behavior matched up with that of an innocent person, not with a guilty one.
That's correct. He is actually doing exactly what you would do if you were looking for Lindsay. He was searching.
So Larry Montgomery turned his attention to Chris McAmis, guilty or innocent. Chris was the last person known to be with Lindsay. He told police he drove straight home after dropping Lindsay off. And police found that photo of what looked like his truck heading north away from Lindsay's neighborhood, which took him past this ATM camera.
The video from the ATM camera, police at the time saw that as not ironclad proof that Chris was telling the truth, but suggestive that what he said, he actually did.
Correct.
But when Larry compared photos of Chris's truck with the photos from the bank, he saw something no one else had noticed. The paint on the back of the side view mirrors on Chris's truck was white.
What about the truck in the photo?
The truck in the photo had a dark spot in that area, which means whatever mirrors were there, if there were mirrors there, they were black.
So it's not the same truck.
That's right, it's not.
Suddenly, Chris's alibi had a big hole in it. Larry moved on to Chris's history with women. two ex-girlfriends talked to police about how Chris would become unhinged by rejection, or what he called disrespect. Larry heard about how Chris had once crushed a pet crab with a hammer right in front of one of his girlfriends because he thought the crab had killed one of his fish.
This is a guy with some significant anger issues.
It certainly appears that way.
She told me it was from a car accident.
Larry listened to Chris's interviews and caught him talking some of the time about Lindsay in the past tense.
Hand was pretty much stuck like this.
Okay.
Then Larry found something in the paperwork from Placentia PD that proved Chris McCamus had lied to the police early on about his whereabouts on Saturday, February 17th, the day Lindsay didn't come home. Chris had told the cops he stayed close to home, but Larry checked Chris's credit card statement.
There was one entry on February 17th, and it turns out it was Santa Clarita, which is 50 miles north of where Chris lived.
Why would Chris be in Santa Clarita?
Well, that's what I wanted to know.
Digging through the reports, Larry found information about Chris's dad, that he was in construction, and that in 2000 and 2001, he had a job site in Santa Clarita. You can't tell now, but back in 2001, this was a major construction site. Now, Chris had told police that he did not work for his dad that winter, that he was on unemployment. But Larry saw some big cash deposits going into Chris's bank account in addition to his unemployment checks. So he thought that Chris might have been working for his dad off the books. And Larry came up here to ask around.
And they told you that it was Chris's father's construction company?
Chris's father did some of the tractor work at that site.
And Chris worked there.
And Chris was one of the tractor drivers that the superintendent said was there every day.
Is this where you thought to yourself, that's where Lindsay Eklund is?
I thought chances are excellent that if I killed Lindsay and I was in Chris McCamus's situation and I had use of a tractor out in the middle of nowhere, I might use that tractor to dig a hole to put her in.
Now, all the evidence whisperer had to do was prove it.
Coming up, an undercover operation.
Were you armed?
Yes.
And you were wearing a wire?
Yes.
Could she help them get the proof they'd need?
His color in his face went white.
When Dateline continues.